In the last nugget of this important data center series, we examined the 1000V. In this nugget, we're going to kick it up a notch and we're going to see how you would verify the proper configuration and operation of the 1000V in your data center. So there's really three main areas that we want to take a look at here. First, I do want to do a little bit of review on the 1000V. In this nugget, let's just make sure we remember some key points from actually the previous nugget. Then I want to provide you an overview of installation. Certainly in your certification exam environment at the CCNA data center level, you're not going to be responsible for an install, but I would like to give you a 30,000 foot view of this installation just so you can kind of comprehend it and get a vision of your mind for further certification levels or for even your production environment. Finally, the main point of the nugget is, of course, the commands that we would use, the process that we would go through in order to verify the 1000V is up and running in our environment. Do you remember how this software-based Nexus switch paradigm worked from the last nugget? We have a virtual in the VMware product of vCenter, you would install the plugin for the Virtual Supervisor module. Then you would configure the service connection, the glue between the Nexus Supervisor module and the vCenter installation that you're working with, and then your distributed virtual switch would appear in VMware's vCenter, and you'd have a virtual Ethernet module that you could start plugging virtual machines into. Now, I said this isn't really the recommended method because there's very little that's automated for you. Yeah, there's no wizard walking you through any of these steps. And that's what VMware provides for us with an OVF file, which is the Open Virtualization Format file, or even better, the OVA file. The OVA file is an Open Virtualization Appliance file. It's similar to an automated OVF, but even more robust. You see, if you utilize the OVF that VMware provides, the first two steps are automated for you. But if you use an OVA file from VMware, the first 4 steps you are guided through. So all you would need to do if you use the preferred method of starting from one of these Open Virtualization Appliance files is you would be guided through the creation of the VM for the Virtual Supervisor module, the setup of all that Virtual Supervisor module stuff, and its integration into vCenter. All you'd have to do is set up your service connection and then go ahead and start adding the hosts to your virtual Ethernet module. So you've done the initial configuration and you want to verify things. Well, guess what? You're on a Nexus device. Don't forget that. So you're going to be in the Virtual Supervisor Module CLI, right? You're in the 1000 V's CLI, really. And you're going to go ahead and do a show run. Of course, the shortcut for show running configuration. And we can verify things here like the switch name, the management IP address and subnet mask in use, the default gateway or our default route configuration. And of course, we can verify connectivity between the 1000V and I always tend to refer to this as the service, but technically it's software virtual switch connection. So you can think of show service or software virtual switch connection when we do this show SVS connection at the command line. Notice we can specify a particular connection, or if we don't know, just leave that optional name parameter off. Notice two things we're really interested in here. Or connect command sequence that you can utilize to either disconnect or connect the software virtual switch connection on your 1000V. Remember, this connection is critical so that when we are in the virtual supervisor module making configuration changes, they are actually pushed to vCenter and they actually get carried out is the glue that binds your virtual supervisor module to those virtual Ethernet modules out there. So they're all communicating via this domain ID that they all share. Something else that we want to make sure we see here is config push to VC, that's VMware's vCenter, is successful. So we want to make sure that the a active standby redundant VSM type of configuration. But I do want to impress upon you that that's a great idea. Go ahead and do a VSM that is your active VSM, and in slot 2 do a VSM that is the standby VSM should anything fail with that primary virtual supervisor module. Well, congratulations, because in this nugget, you've really taken a step forward when it comes to some really cool technology in your data center and your ability, of course, to verify this exciting 1000V. But one last thing. You remember earlier when we went ahead and we talked about the show software virtual switch domain command? And earlier we had focused on that domain ID, the glue, if you will, between your VSM and your VEMs, and making sure that our status indicated that our configurations could be pushed to VMware's vCenter successfully. Well, notice there is this concept of a control VLAN and a packet VLAN. Well, here's the deal. The packet VLAN is utilized for things like, oh, how about Cisco Discovery Protocol? And how about things VLAN is going to be more of our typical Cisco control level protocols. So just so we have that warm, fuzzy feeling inside, let's wrap up with a sample exam question from our certification environment. What command would you use to verify the connection between the virtual supervisor module and VMware's vCenter? Would we use show VMware VIM, show vCenter, show SVS connection, show 1000V connection? It is indeed the show software virtual switch connections command that gets it done. So, a simple, straightforward nugget in which we reviewed the basic operation of the 1000V, really focusing on how it's those two important components, right? The VSM and the VEM. We then did a 30,000 foot view of the installation so you can get a sense for that. And then we focused on some key verification commands that we're going to need. I also want you to know about that control VLAN and that packet VLAN that we would create for the purposes of implementing the 1000V. Remember, the control VLAN is for things like heartbeat messages between the VSM and the VEM, whereas the packet VLAN is for more the traditional control traffic that we're used to, like Cisco Discovery Protocol packets and link aggregation and control protocol packets as examples. Well, I hope this nugget has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.